How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the Black Metal Rebellion. I'm your host, Jesse Morgan, aka Slammerella. And today we got something a little bit different to do. We're going to try something cool for my horror series here. And that is not a horror movies to watch or avoid type of thing. Although this kind of might be a bit of a mini version of that. However, not many people know about these two movies, and I kind of wanted to shed some light on them because they're kind of rare and obscure. But being a kind of Frankenstein enthusiast, that's one of my favorite Universal monsters. This is not from Universal at all, but they do contain Frankensteins of some sort in this, or monsters of a Frankenstein doctor of some sort. And I kind of want to compare the two because the names are ridiculously similar. So what I'm talking about is Army of Frankensteins and Frankenstein's Army. As you can see, they are clearly two different movies. And the funny thing is, this came out in 2013. So did this, only a few months later, which I believe they're trying to possibly capture on some of the hype of this film. But these movies could not be farther from each other, and when it comes to tone, when it comes to quality, when it comes to style, when it comes to acting. So when I watched these, I basically watched them back to back, minus a couple hours because I had to run out and grab some food for the fam. But I watched them in alphabetical order instead of chronological order because this one came out first. But I watched Army of Frankensteins first. Kind of glad I did. So let's talk about the differences between these two movies, shall we? They are, again, vastly different in tone, in style, in acting, in quality. Army of Frankensteins, which I watched first, is a more campy, less serious, kind of a Back to the Future type of Monsterama type of film. The Frankenstein monsters in this, which they just call Frankensteins, are not the greatest creature looking thing in this. There's one main Frankenstein in this that is basically the catalyst for all of the Frankensteins, and he kind of has a chubby, stocky version of like the 40s or 50s version of Frankenstein. I'm not really a fan of that look. But then you get another one, I'm going to show you closer there, kind of like the infested or infected version of Frankenstein. One of these soldiers gets injected with, I think it's supposed to be the cure, but if you don't inject the Frankenstein with it and then you inject it in a human with it, that's what kind of happens, I think. But yeah, those ones are a little bit more neat looking because they're more grotesque, more bubbly and gross. But yeah, so I like those a little bit better. And then there's this weird, I don't know if it's a cat or what, but they inject I think a small animal with it, and that furry thing there on the right is kind of what happens. That makes an appearance in there too. Let's check out the disc actually and show you what that looks like. So there's the disc. Not really too much to look at except that it came from Family Video, so that's kind of neat. And came from Scream Factory, aka Shout Factory. This is 109 minutes. It's 109 minutes, and I really feel like it could have been bumped down to maybe an hour. Maybe 60 minutes, because they really stretch out the runtime with a bunch of needless things that happen in here that really kind of get boring after a while. The acting in this is not the worst acting I've ever seen, but it's not great. The main character in this is a very mix between Shaun from Shaun of the Dead and a little bit of like a young Ash from Army of Darkness. I kind of feel like they're kind of going between those two styles of comedies for some of it. The main character in here ends up getting beaten up and taken to a laboratory, and this guy who's trying to be Victor Frankenstein ends up taking out one of his eyeballs for some reason and using it as the last piece for his Frankenstein monster. And as they're, you know, turning on the machine, it fires up, the monster comes alive as you'd expect. These aren't spoilers, these are just kind of natural things you expect in a Frankenstein film, so just bear with me. But the one thing that this has in it that a lot of Frankenstein related movies don't have is time travel and multiverse versions of the same Frankenstein monster. Yeah, so as soon as that cranks up and the Frankenstein monster comes to life, the power that's generating and a lightning storm hitting that machine that he has going on brings a whole bunch of random Frankensteins to his time and then sucks them all back into Civil War, 19th century battles of the North and South. So the main character in this, Alan Jones, has to meet up with his like great grandpa or something like that in order to stop A, the South from winning the war, and B, to stop all these Frankensteins from just completely messing everything up. And that on the front there, the arm that's like all like laser plasma cannoned up is the great grandfather, and he has quite an interesting journey in this as well. They end up meeting Abraham Lincoln at some point. This version, or this film, is more campy, a little more goofy, not so much gore. There's gore, but it's very Monty Python-esque. People don't really react when they get like an arm cut off or something crazy. Some of them might scream or a bit, but some of them don't even react at all, barely. It's all over the place. And the odd thing about this, there's quite a few people in here. Not there. Let's see on the back. There's quite a few people in here. You can see that dude there. It's a fake mustache. I'm assuming he's a cis man. Can he not grow his own mustache? They had to stick a fake mustache on him for this. So there's a lot of characters that have fake facial hair. There's a dude that has like a beard that kind of starts like under here and goes all the way down. I don't know if it's real or not, but my God, you should be ashamed. Beards should definitely start in front of your chin and kind of grow down, not under your neck and grow down. Like, what is happening with the facial hair in this movie? Watch this one first. Definitely could have been summed up into an hour. The acting could have been a little bit better. But if you're just looking for a goofy, slapstick, Monty Python, Back to the Future, Army of Darkness type of Frankenstein romp, this might be it for you. But for the true horror fan out there that loves gore and guts and like freaky creep out factor, put this one aside and pick yourself up a copy of Frankenstein's Army. So yeah, not Army of Frankensteins, Frankenstein's Army. So go later in alphabetical order. Go for the F. Get the Frankenstein in the title first, because this thing, holy shit. Basically, if I could sum it up super quickly, I'm going to rant a bit after obviously, but if I could sum it up super quickly, this film is sort of like VHS 94's The Subject short, expanded into an entire movie, and then it's revolving around Frankenstein, like Victor Frankenstein, working for the Nazis, creating these crazy man-machine abominations that you can kind of see all over the front cover there. And the Russians are kind of behind enemy border, going through a town that's messed up, and there's dead bodies everywhere, and there's gore and guts everywhere, and they're trying to figure out what's going on and obviously stop as many Nazis as they can. But they keep running into these weird creature things that are half machine, half zombie looking things. These creatures that Frankenstein made. The disc isn't too crazy, but that's what it looks like. And yeah, it's way better in tone. It's darker, it's creepier. The monsters are actually menacing and freaky looking. Again, the creepy machine cyborg things from The Subject segment in VHS 94, that is basically what's going on in here, but a full-length movie, and then throw in Nazis and Russians fighting each other. Pretty crazy. The gore in this is legit. And the only thing that might not catch your fancy is that it's mostly a found footage type of film. There's a camera guy the whole time filming a lot of the events, and if you don't like that or if it's off-putting to you, there's not too much shaky cam, but there is a lot of like look at the medic here that's helping the guy that's dying, look over here at the monster, look at the floor, look back up, look over here, kind of thing going on with the camera. So if you don't like that type of thing, then you know that might be a slight gripe you have with Frankenstein's Army. But if you like found footage, then this is going to be up your alley again. The Frankenstein's Army is definitely the one that I'm going to be watching again in the future. Army of Frankensteins, probably not, unless it's to rewatch with a friend or a family member, just so they know which one to get. But all in all, if you are a fan of Frankenstein movies or the Frankenstein creature, then both are okay. Obviously, this one's being the darker tone and the more gore-filled one and more freaky. This one is a little bit more laid back and campy and kind of a fun story with some humor thrown in there. Just a little less good acting. Which one should you get if you had to pick one? Obviously, in my opinion, Frankenstein's Army. But if you're a fan of Frankenstein's Monster, you should probably pick up both. And depending on who you're showing it to, you might want to pick one or the other. If you're showing it to like your 13 or 14-year-old kid, maybe go with Army of Frankensteins. But if you're with a bunch of the bros, maybe go with Frankenstein's Army. Or if you're just into like freaky sci-fi gore and stuff, this one's probably it. That's it. That's my quick video on the comparison between the two films, Army of Frankensteins and Frankenstein's Army. Very similar titled films with quite the different plot and tone, etc. So, have you heard of either of these two films? What do you think of them, of course? Do you agree with my assessment? Have I maybe turned you on to either one of them? Like, it'd be cool to know if you've never heard of one of these and I've actually raised a spotlight on it for you. I also have another Frankenstein movie coming in the mail soon that I just ordered called Frankenstein versus the Mummy, which, if you don't know about, is a film that was actually written and directed by, and the film's effects and stuff like that were done by the same person that did Terrifier. So director Damien Leone did it as well. So that's another reason why I wanted to get it. Looking forward to their film stream. That should be pretty sweet. And obviously Terrifier 3. So yeah, look forward to that in a future horror films to watch or avoid episode. I'm probably going to put these back in it too, but I figured I'd do just a kind of a in-depth look at both of these films, just because I don't think too many people have heard of them, for one, and two, it might be confusing if you're out there looking at one of these films going, wait, Army of Frankenstein's Army, which is the one that I want, and why do they have similar titles? Might help you figure out which one to pick up, if not both. If you got this far, maybe consider liking and subscribing, because I'd say over 70% of you who watch aren't subscribed. And if you enjoy these videos, I do them at least once or twice a month, depending on content and stuff that I'm able to share. So yeah, maybe consider subscribing. Cheers, and we'll see you in the next video. For glory, for the rebellion, Slammerella out.